Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to Pretty Brown Vegan, the place for plant-based comfort foods. In today's video, I will be showing you guys how to make this super delicious, moist, melt in your mouth butter cake. It is so fire. This recipe is traditionally a yellow butter cake recipe that I did veganize, and it's just giving regular old butter cake, and it's so melt in your mouth delicious, I promise you. If you guys are looking for more of a yellow hue, you guys can use just egg. You guys will see what vegan egg substitute I use here, but it's giving a little light skin because we're not using real egg yolks or real butter, but it's still fire and it's so bomb. Let's go ahead and see how we make this completely from scratch. We are going to go ahead and get started by measuring out our ingredients. I am starting with some plain old sugar here. You guys can use whatever sugar you like. You can use organic cane sugar, coconut sugar, whatever kind of sugar you prefer, but I'm just going with plain old regular sugar here. Once we measure out our sugar, I am going to go ahead with my egg substitute. I'm using aquafaba, which is also the juice from the canned chickpeas here today. This is a great egg white substitute. This whips up into whipped cream. It whips up and gets a little bit of frothy, and you can get it thick just like egg whites would be, which you guys will see later in the video. And then once we have our egg substitute weighed out, we're going to go ahead and get our cake flour measured out as well. Now, once we get that measured out, we are going to go ahead and weigh out our butter. The butter is what gives this cake that moist decadence and makes everything just so literally just melt in your mouth like a piece of butter would. So we're just going to go ahead and measure out all of the butter that we need for this delicious vegan butter cake. Once your butter is weighed out, then we're going to go ahead with our milk. I am using vegan unsweetened vanilla almond milk. You guys can use oat milk, whatever milk substitute you prefer as well on that. Once that is measured out, we're going to come in with our salt and leavening agents. I'm using baking powder and a baking soda mix, as well as a splash of apple cider vinegar that you'll see. That's going to work really good with that baking soda to get everything just to rise on up really good. And we're also using a splash of vanilla. And so to get started, we're going to go ahead and sift our dry ingredients together. So go ahead and sift together that cake flour, the baking powder, and the baking soda, so that everything is nice and incorporated together, and just makes everything nice and well mixed and fine. Just make sure that everything comes together evenly with no lumps and no clumps, okay? If you find it a little bit difficult for everything to sift on through, just go ahead and take a rubber spatula and press it on through. Once you have all that together, we are going to go ahead and cream our butter. I am using a stand mixer for this, but you guys can use a hand mixer if you don't have a stand mixer on hand, but I would highly recommend using a stand mixer. We're just going to go ahead and whip that butter up until it is nice and puffy like clouds, I guess I would say. It just makes it nice and smooth and just creamy. Make sure you are scraping the bottom of your bowl in between mixes as well, just to make sure that everything mixes evenly. And also because we're making just a one cake batch here today, so it's not going to overfill your mixer. So you just need to make sure that everything is nice and incorporated and that the paddle attachment is able to whip all of the ingredients in the bowl. Once that is nice and light, we're going to go ahead and pour in our sugar here and continue mixing until it's nice and fluffy. We're also going to come in with our salt as well on this stage as well in a little bit once it just starts whipping together. This step took me roughly 8 minutes or so, just to make sure that everything is nice and light and fluffy. And then here we are, we're gonna go ahead and hit that with the salt. And just keep on whipping until everything again is nice and fluffy. While we're waiting on that, I'm gonna go ahead and hit that chickpea water with a hand mixer just to get it to thicken up and become nice and frothy like egg whites would be. Just makes it a little bit thicker and it gives it that more egg white consistency. Once that is ready, we are going to start to incorporate our vegan egg substitute a little bit at a time. I did add that in 3 equal parts, and I stopped and scraped down the bowl in between each mixture. And the butter and sugar need to be a little bit more frothy, so I went ahead and took this time to whip together the milk and the vanilla. I did reserve the apple cider vinegar on the side and added that in on its own. If you went ahead and mixed in the apple cider vinegar with the milk, it can curdle the milk, so I went ahead and added those in separately. Again, it's very important to make sure that you scrape the bottom and the sides in between adding in any ingredients. Now that we have that running, again, we're going to go ahead and add in the egg a little bit at a time. Again, I added this in 3 parts. And in between each addition, I just made sure that the egg was fully incorporated before I added in any additionals. Okay, so now that we have the egg fully incorporated, we are going to go ahead and alternate between adding in our dry ingredients and our liquid ingredients. So I add in about 1/4 of the dry ingredients, and then I add in about 1/3 of the liquid ingredients, which is that milk and that vanilla. Then I come back in with the flour, and then on the second addition of the milk and vanilla, I went ahead and splashed in the apple cider vinegar as well, just to get that fully incorporated. And then I continue alternating until all of those ingredients are added in the mixture and combined. And again, make sure you scrape down the paddle, the bottom, and the sides of the mixing bowl. Okay, once that's all together, we're just gonna go ahead and weigh out our batter in some baking dishes. And to help everything get evenly in the dish, I just spin it around. If you spread it out with a spatula, you can kind of take some of the air out of the mixture, which could make your cake a little flat. And this is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. We're just going to go ahead and bake it until it's nice and golden, and a toothpick inserted in it comes out clean. And once we have that ready to go, we're going to go ahead and just cut off some of that crispiness on the top. So I'm just going to go ahead and level out the cake layers here. Boom, look at that super moist, delicious inside of that cake. I just could not wait to tear into this. Just go ahead and level that out so it's nice and even. And of course, you can eat those scraps right off the top so you can get the flavor of this delicious vegan butter cake. Look at that, so good. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and assemble our layers. I do have a delicious vegan buttercream recipe already on my channel. I'll go ahead and link that below. Before we do add the buttercream, I do come in with some simple syrup that I did make. If you guys are interested in finding out how I made my simple syrup, just comment down below and let me know. It's a super easy and simple recipe, and I wouldn't mind putting that together for you guys. So just go ahead, and once you get that on there, the simple syrup again helps just keep everything nice and super moist, and it just helps with the extending the life of the cake so that it's moist all throughout the time that you have it until it's time to be finished. So just go ahead and put that buttercream in there and layer that on up. and stack our next layer. Be delicate. These are super moist and delicate layers, so just go ahead and put that on there, and then again hit it with some more of that simple syrup. Again, it just makes everything nice and moist and just extends the life of that cake a little bit with that moistness so it doesn't dry out over time. And it's already a super moist cake, but you know, this just gives it that little oomph that you need. And then we're going to come back in with a little more buttercream, and we're going to go ahead and finish out our crumb coat layer. And just go ahead and smooth that out. I do go ahead and add some of that buttercream on the sides with this offset spatula, and then I come in with a straight edge and just smooth everything out before I pop it in the freezer for about 10 to 15 minutes or so that it will make it easier for me to clean up the top edges before I come in with the second coat of the frosting. So here I am scraping around with my straight edge just to make sure that everything is nice and smooth. And I'll show you guys how it looks on the crumb coat once I'm done with this step. And this is our finished crumb coat. I just go ahead and pop this in the freezer for a little bit just to get the buttercream a little bit more stiff so that we can come across and scrape this top off here. It just makes it easy for us to clean up the edges. Once we have that, just go ahead and add in another layer of buttercream on the side and come back in with that straight edge to finish the second coat. Once the second coat is assembled, I will come in and clean up those edges again. I'll pop it back in the freezer for a bit. And then once I clean up the edges, I go ahead and come in with the sprinkles, because it's not a birthday cake without sprinkles, right? And this is our completed second coat. So I'm just cleaning up those edges again, and then we're going to come in and hit it with the sprinkles. I start applying the sprinkles with gloves, and then for the excess sprinkles that fall off on the side, I come in with my offset spatula and just scoop them up on the side and make a rough border. Doesn't have to be perfect. I like a little bit of an abstract look to my cakes, so I just go ahead and make the border to my liking. All right, and then I'm taking some extra buttercream that I had, and I'm just piping some nice little rosettes on top. And once the rosettes are piped out, I come and hit each one of them with some extra sprinkles as well. And that's it. Honestly, this is a simple recipe that I believe anybody can do. It's just about taking your time, making sure you scrape the sides of the mixing bowl in between adding in any additional ingredients, and making sure that you alternate between adding in those dry and wet ingredients to make sure that your mixture doesn't break and stays solid. So just go ahead and watch me finish this cake. And then that is it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you. Let me know if you enjoy the content. If you guys are going to go ahead and give it a try down below. And again, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and give me a thumbs up if you did enjoy this video. Thanks so much for watching.
Personality.